Like many of us, David Landgraf has worked inside corporations. We all work hard while we're there. We learn and we hone our craft and our professional selves. And then something special happens. We leave the nest and become what it is we're supposed to be. David Landgraf is a storyteller. And if you've got a special event, he wants to tell your story. And he and his team at Make It Happen Management are good at it. Events speak to groups, but they are focused on individual experiences. And it is that personal experience that's important to David. He makes it a point to get to know each individual client so that their event distinctly reflects them. In our talk, we discuss the importance of details within the puzzle, as well as how those multiple pieces are all going to come together to make one grand and beautiful picture, and how being able to see both the big and the small might be a pretty unique trait. We also touch on producing in the greatest and sometimes most challenging city in the world, and how he draws inspiration from it. And David also provides some solid resources about how your event can tangibly help people in need. Stand by as we talk about his story, the CEO of Make It Happen Management, David Landgraf.
Playback ending in 5.
Stand by fake music, stand by talent.
3, 2, 1. Clear.
Music go. Talent go. Welcome to Event Yak, where event pros share their stories about the past, present, and future. I'm your host, Terri Walters. Hey, Yaksters, welcome to the show today. Today I have David Landgraf, who is the CEO of Make It Happen Event Management. Is that the correct name of your business, David?
It's actually called Make It Happen Management.
Make It Happen Management. I stand corrected. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. And I appreciate this opportunity, and hello to everyone out there.
Awesome. So we kind of met online. I have followed David on LinkedIn, and I also am now a new follower on Instagram, and I love the stuff that he's doing. It's, I have so much stuff on my feed, and his stuff, David's stuff, just stands out to me. It looks interesting, it looks engaging, and even before we went through this whole COVID thing, I was really drawn in by the stuff that you do on your social. So it looks kind of like your social seems to be working for you, at least as it relates to me. I mean, do you feel that it is for you?
Yeah, I think it is actually getting a lot of good messages out there, especially during these times, and as I pivoted some of my services. But it's a great message to be out there, both for Make It Happen Management and myself. So, yeah.
Awesome. And now the other thing that I think is so fun is you started some online things. For example, the Chill and Connect. Tell me a little bit about Chill and Connect.
Chill and Connect is basically taking live events virtually online and engaging. I always call it my 4 E's. It's excite, empower, educate, and entertain. And to bring people together, we have done wine tastings with Food and Wine Magazine, Anthony Giglio, and gone around the world in various regions. We have done yoga, and it was basically a way for people to both chill, either wine or in yoga, and connect. And that is the one word that I believe is really important in this new environment, because how many Zoom calls have you been in on a day? And it's really put all that aside, use the tool to excite, empower, educate, and entertain during these events.
I like the idea of, now, everybody's been using Zoom. We're so zoomed out, I think, a lot of us. But you're having so much fun with it. How did you just come up with the wine idea? I mean, I would never think to do an online wine thing. Like, how did you come up with that?
I was tired of Zoom cocktail parties with friends, and friends were calling and saying, "Oh, can we get together and have, let's, 5, 6 o'clock, let's have cocktails." And I was like, okay, so in the spirit of my 4 E's, I said, okay, I'm going to turn this into something that is more connective, and authentic, to everyone. So it has been a great experience, and we've been holding them every 2 weeks. So 1 week is yoga, and the next week is the wine tasting.
So you offset it back and forth.
Yeah.
Do you find, this is a weird question, but do you find that the same people who do the yoga are kind of the same people who do the wine?
There is
Are they different?
crossover. There is crossover, and what I do is basically to my Instagram followers is offer it to them too, through my to my clients as well as to my Instagram followers and social media followers, I should say.
And have you had a really good response to it? Are people excited to join in?
I have, and it's actually a silver lining, because I've got to connect with so many people that I didn't know, and some people that I have known for a very long time, both friends and through industry colleagues and clients. And now what's happening is people are calling me to produce them for them. So it's a nice, for private client entertainment, so which is a nice opportunity.
Cool. So that's like a springboard opportunity for you that kind of, it wouldn't, now it may not have even happened if we didn't have this, world catastrophe happening in the background. But
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Anthony actually has quoted and said publicly that I pivoted his business for him.
Wow.
Because when did you ever think that you would be having a cocktail party and having educators sit there and talk about what you're drinking and all of that? So it's been a really nice opportunity, again, to educate and empower, excite, and entertain.
I think all of us helping each other. I think this is, it's brought out the best in a lot of us. I think, everybody gets to help everybody, and I think that's awesome. I think we need to do possibly some more of that. Keep it all in mind as we come out of this thing.
Well, I'll give you another C, community.
Community, see? There we go. So that's, I think that's an awesome program that you developed. And I know you did Italian wines this past time. What do you think you're going to do the next time?
We're in discussions again for something unique, so stay tuned for more on that.
All right.
And there's actually some larger scale opportunities with some brands, so that'll be very interesting.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to pivot myself right now, and I'm going to actually talk about the name of your company, which is, make it happen. And I know it's your credo as well as your company name. And I know, everybody asks, where did you get the name of your company? I kind of get it, but tell me about it. What does it really mean to you? Make it happen.
It's actually became a mantra because it was my reputation. In my 25 years of corporate work, at financial institutions and consulting firms, and even in my own consulting, as I started my own business in 2018, it was my reputation. And so individuals would be called Landgraf, he can make it happen. And it became empowerment. And I'll never forget when I started my company, my lawyer said, "What do you want to call your company?" And I literally shut the door in my office and just listened to the pulse of the world speak to you. And it came to me. So I'm really grateful. And it's really it says something and it means something. And it's both empowering, exciting, educational, and entertainment.
And it means a lot to your clients, I think. I mean, it just, to me, if I'm looking for somebody who's, because events are, giant octopus, I need to have somebody who can actually make it happen. And I look you up and here you are. So give me those, your four, there's empowerment, was it execution?
Excite, empower,
Excite.
educate, and entertain.
Okay, right. let's talk a little bit about some of the events that you've done. Now, I know that, you're similar to a lot of people, including myself. You started out in at a big company and kind of cut your teeth there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decided to jump off and do your own thing. Talk a little bit about some of the stuff you've done and how the stuff that you've done makes you better at what you're doing and are going to do.
I think this is probably one of the most exciting things before I got into events, and I'm going to jump back even further, I worked at the National Security Agency at a very young age. So that's a great cocktail conversation. People are always like, tell me something we don't know. And I always say, well, I was a national cryptologic spy for
definitely
computer
something
operations.
to talk to you about.
So a lot of people, and when you look at that on the bottom of my LinkedIn or my resume, people are like, and you went from events. So I really believe that gave me the grounding and the foundation for urgency, attention to detail, creativity, intrigue. And it gave me all of those kind of foundation to really kind of propel myself into what I wanted to do and what I found myself in today.
Yeah, I mean, details obviously are really important in this business, so you have to be on top of it. And we had a little conversation, a pre-conversation before we did the interview about how you have to, in this business, you have to look at the details, but also be able to see the big picture as well.
Yeah,
right?
We did.
So do you ever find, this is something that I find, and this is why I love to talk to people. Do you ever find that you go to a client and you talk to them and they say, oh, we're too small to have someone as with your talent. This is like the brush off, with your talent to help us out. Like, how do you get around something like that?
I think it's a conversation to figure out exactly what their story is and what their objective is and what their brand is. So and who their people are. Culture is really important. And so I love to have these initial conversations. And I think that's the way we start connecting the pieces of the puzzle to find out how we can really make their event special to tell their both business, personal, corporate story, because we're storytellers, but we imagine it or reimagine it, as my co-logo says, into something that maybe you haven't thought of and what that is, and the service levels. So it's kind of, let us tell your story.
Right. I mean, I always say your event is never too small to be done right.
Yeah.
It's, so people will say that to me. I'm like, well, you want to be able to, again, the details matter and the details are important. So, and I think that's probably the same for you.
Yeah. And to your point about, you're too senior or you have so much experience and you do this. And I think it is a relationship. It is a connection that you're trying to build. And all of that aside is how can we make it happen and how can we make a difference for you?
Right. And now that you have your own company, all right, so now you have your own company and you're growing and doing some exciting stuff. What are some of the things, like what makes you different, I think, from other people? Again, I kind of know you, so I want you to tell your story. Like, what is your differentiator?
I think to tell the story, both from a technical side, so I have the extreme technical position, and then having worked in a lot of financial firms, and I'm very grateful for that because it's, again, made me the person I am today and allowed me to springboard into make it happen. My differentiator would be that I can see the forest and I can see the trees. So I think I can vacillate back and forth very quickly. And I've actually had my coach tell me that, my business coach, who I'm grateful for. She understands this component where you can see the forest and then you can focus on the tree and the bark on the tree.
Right.
And it's so amazing. And I actually didn't know that was unique until she said to me, and you do it so quickly. And she goes,
Right.
sometimes you need to be a little more patient and understand and walk people through that process.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so
What do you mean? You're not keeping up with me?
so I want to, so that is one of the things, and I'm sure, many people can relate, but it's a great way to see it, what your end objective is, and getting people to their end objective.
I agree. I mean, you have to have the big picture. You got to go in and you've got to, be with the strategists and know kind of, what the end goal is. But then you are actually well-versed enough and experienced enough to know what details it's going to take to get there. So it is really unique. I think it's really unique. I think there's a lot of people out there that are, call themselves strategists, but actually don't know how to execute. Now, in your business, you have to execute, right? Do you consider yourself a financial, are you a niche kind of person, or are you want to do more broad stuff?
So I want to tell the story. I want to tell the client story. And I had the great opportunity through some of my business relationships to pivot a little last year and get into more of a wedding and social events, which was really very nice because it's all transferable skills. Right.
Yeah.
And it's the partners that bring you together and the creative team that brings you together, and all tides rise. And everyone surrounding yourself with that collective creative team is a true assessment of talent assessment, and to be able to go, okay, this is the specs. These are the and hone in, take that big picture view, see the forest, and then go in to see the bark. And so recognizing talent and partnerships is a wonderful opportunity.
Cool. And now a lot of your stuff, and again, you stage in, I call it's the greatest, but also the most challenging city in the world. A lot of times, I know you're international and you could do all that stuff, but really, you're like me. You're in the city, and when I say the city, I mean New York, of course. Tell me a little bit about the challenges in New York.
Challenges today or challenges in the past?
Well, we all know the challenge today. But I guess normally in the normal world, I know I have my challenges when I bring gear and get people and all that kind of stuff. But what are some of the challenges you see? And I'll share some of mine with you also.
Well, in the age of COVID-19, I think it's the gathering, right? And how we gather.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
So it's gathering, how we've gathered in the past and how will we gather in the future.
Right.
And how we, come back into resurgence, the phoenix to rise again. And so.
I agree.
Right? Yeah, events unite. That's what,
Exactly.
hashtag events unite.
All right, I'm in. I'm going to start it myself with you. We should just put it out there.
Yes. And so I think it's, I love this city. I loved its history, its architecture, its people, its neighborhoods. It is
energy too. New York, there's no place.
You don't, and it's even, walking down the streets, it just fills you. And I'd often talk about the push and the pull, right? The push and pull of energy and communication. And it's how Make It Happen came about, is you just sit back and listen to the pull, right? Instead of, as an event planner, you're constantly pushing, right? To do.
Interesting.
And I believe that the power to push and pull, to listen and speak, is something that is really essential, both before and now, even more now.
It's funny, you talk about, it's almost like a yin and yang, which, I'm a big yin and yang person. I'm a Pisces. So there's, two fish and there's the yin and the yang thing. But, so it comes back to your yoga, you're providing yoga and wine, but yoga
Another thing I've called that, I don't know, all these names keep coming up. I've called it detox to retox. So you detox during yoga, and then you can retox during wine. And somebody said, have you ever thought about mixing the two? And I was like, not yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I can barely do wine or yoga sober.
So it's very funny. That's the detox to retox. And I was like, it's like compartmentalizing your peas and carrots. No, let's keep them separate for now.
That's so funny. That's so funny and so cute. Oh my God. Well, I mean, so my stuff in New York revolves around access, like getting into buildings. I mean, do you do stuff out on the island? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know how it is like out in Nassau and, Suffolk County and something, but in Manhattan itself, I always have to, I'm always finding I have to increase my insurance, or I have to, come through a certain way. I mean, the details of that is gigantic. I mean, do you experience the same thing?
I do. Actually, having done some events out in Long Island, and it's important that you have partnerships and relationships in local government and in the town governments, because some of those restrictions that have been placed on noise variances and or the amount of people that can gather in any given space, or fire code or anything like that, bonfires, for example, right, during clam bakes on the beach, or things like that, and they change. So as you, it's for you to stay up on those, and again, listen, and have those relationships and partners that you can rely on to get things done.
Yeah, and I would imagine, like, now you're talking about you're kind of getting into some wedding events.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. Why do you think that that's the direction you want to go?
Well, I think it's again, as I said, it's a transferable skill in what we've done, having done large anniversary parties for a corporate firm, or a wedding. It all, or seated dinner, it all, some of it is in the messaging and the style and the people and the culture that you bring together. But when I actually did my first wedding last year, and it was a story that I wanted to tell. It was a referral, and I was like, after I met the groom, who was a quadriplegic, who was marrying his physical therapist and workplace therapist. So Henry and Mary had met many years ago, and now getting married. And the attention to detail of all, they had their venue pre-selected and coming in. And just looking at wheelchair access for Henry. And I'll never forget sitting Henry knee to knee. I was in my chair and he was in his wheelchair. And having that conversation is, look, I'm here to support you, and I'll be with you every inch of the way. Because the amount of hurdles that someone faces in this city, just being in a wheelchair, is amazing to me. Because Henry, at one point, we were leaving the venue, and there was about a 3-inch lip on a curb that had a ramp, and so we literally had to backtrack about 500 yards. To go back and go all the way around. And that was just during a site visit. So, and every step was of the way, and just a beautiful couple. And to tell their story, he had founded the Christopher Reeve Foundation with Christopher Reeve, so is very much involved in helping the wheelchair community. So it was an inspirational story for me, and one that I really wanted to be a part of.
That is an amazing story, and it's like a great. It must have made you feel really good, because a lot of times you come off these things and it's like, oh yeah, we nailed it, but that must have been a special event for you.
Yeah. The entire weekend was a special event, because the family and everyone, and we even had choreographed the first dance for him and Mary, which was beautiful. So it was sugar pie, honey bun. I'll never forget. And Henry comes zooming in on his wheelchair, and of course he loves the technology of the wheelchair, and the advancements that have yet to be made but need to be made. And he zoomed in on the dance floor, and at one point Mary gets on the back of the wheelchair riding on it. It is actually on my Instagram that I really love, and it is one of the most memorable moments as a couple coming together. And so all during the night, the family was riding around on Henry's wheelchair on the back in celebration. So it was really, really beautiful. And just to watch that was amazing. And then at one time, Henry said, "David, come on, jump on." And he was literally, I ran around, riding around the dance floor with his entire family around him. And it was a celebratory moment. And that was a great story to be able to tell. It really was. And for a beautiful couple.
I that is just so touching. And now I'm gonna ask you. I mean, when you took this job, were you surprised? Was this something you knew kind of going in, or was this a surprise for you? The situation
Of the wedding?
Yeah, well, of the challenges that you were going to need to actually manage with this.
No, I think what I tend to do is put myself and my mind in the client's mind, and just building that relationship is just kind of, and visualizing. So I do a whole visualization as part of meditation and yoga. And if you meditate and visualize the event, almost like skiing, right? So if you're going down, the slope, you visualize, and as skiers or as boarders do, and visualize it. You see that a lot on the Olympics. That is something that was really helpful to me, especially as you're trying to lead transportation, family transportation, group transportation, and you're just visualizing the whole path and what those challenges are. But to be able to take those challenges and turn them into a benefit and service and a difference for someone was really joyful for myself as well as the couple.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you ever find that and I don't, maybe this is like a really jaded question. I mean, it's like, do you find yourself surprised at this point? You know, does anything surprise you at all? Like, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's like, did the outcome, the whole scenario, I mean, was that a surprise to you, and the outcome was a surprise to you, or did you know from the beginning you were going to nail this?
I think I'm a little obsessive and attention to detail. So I wasn't.
I mean, to me, it sounded really challenging.
Yeah, and I love to take those challenges, and those are the kind of things that I felt in my career and in my future that I feel you can do anything. You know, it's what is your superpower?
Right. Okay.
Right. What is your superpower? Yeah. And I have this. I love to work. I can work through anything.
Okay.
And
do you find you work all the time? I mean, are you like the type of person who works all the time, or do you take a little bit of time and then think about it and then move on? Like, what kind of person are you?
No, I take some time. Usually, it's a day. I'm usually a quick reactor, and then for things that I really need some time to do some further research. Of course, we all have to do our research.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I ruminate on stuff a lot. Like, you have a call with somebody, and they kind of, they unload on you, and they're like, here's what we want to do, and then it takes a couple of days, and you all of a sudden, I tend to have when do you have your best thoughts? Like, when are you most creative?
It's all, and it's going back to why we love living in this city, and it offers so much both visually and culturally. I find that if you're walking through a museum, you just pick up little nuances of things, and you just feel the vibrations, right? And just see what's that is helpful. Walking outside, basic forms and function and how that works. That's the inspiration I love. It's, looking through magazines or just everything is is inspirational, and how you can translate that, our minds work. My mind works all the time.
Yeah.
So it's to be a sponge.
Yeah. I mean, do you wake up, like a lot of times I'll wake up at 4:00 in the morning and I really don't want to drag myself out of bed, but I find that if I don't do that and I don't write something down, I lose that. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, what was that thought? I mean, do you like wake up out of a sleep and have creative thoughts like that, or am I just insane?
No, you're not. No, you're not. And
Okay.
often keep a pad beside my bed just so that I can jot those down as well. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes you're creative and sometimes I'm just, not.
Well, no, I don't think it's not. I just think it's an evolution of process. I think everyone is intrinsically creative. But I believe that there is how it manifests itself and how you make it happen and how it comes to life to tell the story and that's what I always like to, when I talk to clients, it's, what's your vision? How do you envision this? And then, you can transfer that. So I had a client who came to me and for a bat mitzvah, and the one request I'll never forget was only balloons, no flowers.
Okay. All right.
Only balloons. So, the things you can do with balloons. So then the things you can do with balloons came into, well, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite music? Oh, the places you'll go. Oh, the places you'll go in balloons. And then it just started manifesting itself and turning into something. Sophie, who is a wonderful friend and family friend, we came into this whole thing and it was like, what's your favorite colors? And let's transfer this into, the places you'll go. And I believe that's the messaging that you can bring to someone. And how many people know that book, have read that book, and it's pertinent for a 13-year-old or however old you are. I believe it translates in some way, even today in the times we're in.
I totally agree. I think, and I guess with bat mitzvahs, it's as much for the guest of honor as I guess it is for everybody else. So you need to, like, how do you keep that? How do you get creative with that, I guess?
Yeah, well, it's again to tell the story.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're having some challenges, it's to throw, I started following Sophie on Instagram, and I was like, let me just get into her head of how she's working and talking to her friends.
Okay. So Sophie was the girl who had the party.
She was.
So you wanted to,
yeah, so
you did actual research on her.
Oh, well, yes. So not observatory research. Right?
No.
Right? So I'm literally...
But you need to know your clients.
Yes, exactly. And it's funny. So in the first firm I worked at, we call it KYC, know your client, right? And it's now been trademarked into a lot of things. So again, something that comes full circle, both in the corporate and the social world. Know your clients and tell their story.
All right. That's it's good. I think we've got a lot of hashtags that we're generating here, one at a time here. Let me ask you this. And they say, when you interview, you shouldn't you say those things. So you can tell that my mind is in a pause or a downshift here. There's people who obviously are in the industry now, and there are people who want to still, for some strange reason, want to get into this industry. What do you tell young people who want to, younger than me, who want to get into this industry at this point? I know we're in a really weird place, but what is it that you would suggest they not really study, but what should they do? How should they quote unquote be,
Yeah. I love, and I often get phone calls, and I love to mentor people who want to talk about this and how to get into it. And at one point before my time was taken, I was teaching at NYU as an adjunct professor in events management at NYU,
Awesome.
School of Continuing Professional Studies. And that was so rewarding because it allows you to connect with the nurturing minds of our industry. And I really believe that, again, connecting and empowerment, going back to the 4 E's, is because we have to give back to our industry. And that is the way I love to do it, is to talk to individuals, mentor them, give them resources, both either if there's organizations out there such as Meeting Professionals International, or is there ILEA? What associations do you want to be a part of so that we can keep this ball rolling as a collective community and give back? Giving back both to the industry and to our community in which we work.
Okay. You know, I there's so many directions I want to go here, but here you're talking about giving back. I know that Second Harvest, NYC
City
Second
Harvest.
Harvest is important. City Harvest. And it's not NYC. Okay.
It's City Harvest NYC.
Okay, got it. City Harvest NYC. And we'll put the link in the notes for that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship and what that does.
Yeah. So City Harvest is one that feeds, and in this time, especially during COVID-19, feeds underserved New Yorkers and that are not getting a meal. So there's two organizations. One is God's Love We Deliver here in New York, and then also City Harvest. And they're two different organizations in the food world. And what I saw was, and in doing my events, is that how much food waste was going on during our event planning process. So, or I would take a trip to Vegas, and how many times have you been to Vegas and you see those large buffets, right?
Yeah.
And that is something that will change after COVID.
I agree.
Yeah. And so what I've done is partner with God's Love We Deliver, transfernation.org, and City Harvest. And the reason why, so there are three very different organizations. One, City Harvest, is given food from farmers and packs groceries and provides food to underserved. The God's Love We Deliver does prepared meals for delivery. So you're literally cooking food, preparing meals, and giving it to that way. Transfer Nation, which Hannah, who was an NYU project for her, she goes in and for large events and does food rescue and delivery. So she's basically using the model of Grubhub or Seamless to pick up the food from your event and make sure that it's being delivered to worthy shelters and communities that are closest to you. Most planners talk about the goodwill, I didn't know we could do that or we could be sued. But she's really worked through the red tape of this, and I've implemented this program at some corporates that I've been consulting with and also on the event side. So on my last event, the venue said, we can't do this where there's liability. And I'll never forget, I asked the manager, I said, is this a personal preference or is this a corporate mandate? Because if it's a corporate mandate, I'd like to be able to go to your corporate head and say, is this the facts or is this, what's the 80-20 rule? So, and I was happy that I got on the phone with the person and said, I really love to do this. There is no liability here. It's all been prevented by the goodwill laws. And so it was nice that I was able to deliver from this client that made a donation to their local pantries, and then use social media. So all of the give back, they give you a report of how much food was delivered, where it was delivered, and photo journal it for your CSR initiatives. So it's really was a really great feel good again of where you can make a difference in where you work.
And it's good for your clients. I mean, it's just makes them feel so good, and you're a part of that.
Yeah.
So I think that transfers to you. I'd never heard of Transfer Nation.
It's an app.
before.
You can download the app, Transfer Nation, on your phone, and you put your credit card details in there, even if you're an individual. So now you don't have to be an event planner. You can do it for yourself. And she's built that scale, and I applaud Hannah and her entire team as her NYU project. And I So what I have actually done is worked with the caterers, and I go to the caterers and I say, oh, have you been able to, what do you do with regard to food waste and donations? And some of the largest caterers in the community, in the New York community, are part of this initiative. So, because you got to go right to the source. And Hannah is happy to talk to anybody about this, and her team do a phenomenal job and great work that people don't realize is a real need, because the person in front of you may look successful, may look accomplished, but in this age of COVID-19, I think we're against some challenges. And so it's to ask everyone, are you okay? Are you okay?
No, I totally agree. And even after, before or even after where we are today, I think it's important for us to all take care of one another and check in on one another. And
can I add something to that? Because another
sure.
story is because my office was near the Waldorf Astoria, and I used to go by the trash cans, walking to the dumpsters, and see the large event decor that was being wasted after large galas. And so having to be able to make donations to Ronald McDonald House of repurposed decor, and some of the creative things that are happening with this. So do you know the little silver inserts that when people, before the electronic, the digital remote candles, right? You would have those metal votive candle inserts. I've seen people smash them, and they crush them like a can and turn them into a key ring. Like in the things, or they'll take wine bottles and they'll cut the wine bottles off with the great labels and turn them into candles and repurpose them to candle makers. And so some of the great innovative things that we can repurpose and sustainable, people talk about what's the sustainability of but there's again, food and decor.
I think that all this stuff is amazing, and a lot of people just don't think about what you can do with the surplus. There's always a surplus. But I find it almost amusing. You and I do the same thing. It's kind of like you go by and you find yourself looking in places where most people are not looking. You find, you're like, hey, look at all this stuff that's, being thrown out, and what this can happen. And it's so, it allows you to be so creative and so giving
and strategic,
and exactly. So
it's a 360 view.
It's something that a lot of people don't. It's a way that people don't look. A lot of people are so focused on what they're doing at one particular point, and to be open to it like you are is an asset, I think.
Yeah.
So to our up-and-coming event producers and technical producers, what kind of optimistic message do you have for them at this point?
Listen, be optimistic, and gratefulness, and connect.
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 That's actually a great word. Let's go through the contact information before we wrap up, because we're getting close to the end here. So how can people reach out to you and follow you? Or
Sure. The website is makeithappen.mgmt.com. And you can go to the contact us page on that. And then also on Instagram, it's Make It Happen MGMT on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And on Twitter, it's Make It Happen MGM. And so there you go.
Cool. And your wine tasting, are you going to be giving or sending out invitations via those socials?
Yeah, so what I tend to stagger. So I send a mail campaign, and then what I do is I post them on the bios of my social media channels. And you can also DM me on those. Both we get all of those messages as well and react to all of those as well. So we are in the now world, right?
Yes. And you're on LinkedIn, so people can go and connect with you there. And you'll also put all of the City Harvest, God's Love We Deliver, and
Transformation.
Transfer Nation. I'll put those links on the site, and a lot of times I'll ask people what their favorite app is these days. So Transfer Nation must be one of your favorites.
Yeah. Transfer Nation is one of mine. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking the time and being so giving. And I wish you luck with what you have going on.
Thank you very much. And thank you for this opportunity. And thank you to everyone out there for listening. This has been really wonderful, and look forward to making it happen for you.
Well, that's a wrap for this show. Hey, you can show us some love by subscribing to the show wherever you're listening to us. Subscribing is caring. You can also find us at eventyak.com. The opinions expressed on Event Yak are the opinions of our individual guests and not necessarily the organizations to which they're affiliated. Event Yak is a production of Moonfish Production Limited. Thank you for listening. Be kind, be safe, and stand by to stand by.